How's it going, everyone? This is Mitchell Mander here, and welcome to another review slash impressions video of the Boruto manga. I'm just going to call it a review as these videos are more so reviews than impression videos. So, Boruto Chapter 40 review. I thought this was a pretty good chapter overall. It's a bit of a step down from the chapters we've been getting, at least the last 5, which have been pretty much all 10 out of 10s or at least a 9 or above. So, I mean, it is a bit of a step down, but it was still a good chapter overall. And also, this is the beginning of the fight, so I need to get the full picture of this battle before fully judging this chapter on its own. So I think if this battle ends up being like a really good one in the end, then I think this chapter will go up in points. But right now, it's still pretty good, and just not great. Anyways, before I get into the actual review, I just want to say if you like my content, and you want to see more Boruto manga reviews, be sure to like and subscribe as I cover the Boruto manga every month. I also do some anime reviews and impression videos, so be sure to check those out when you get the chance. So, I like how this chapter starts off not with Team 7 and Kawaki facing off against Boro, but actually with Shikamaru, after Boruto and the others head out in that space-time ninjutsu thing, that portal that they created with Kawaki and Boruto's karmas to go after Naruto. And he's quickly informed that Sasuke is back, as he kind of needs Sasuke to actually go find and help rescue the kids, but finds out that Sasuke was actually seriously injured and unconscious, and they don't know who did it to him. But yeah, he's back, and you can just see Shikamaru's freaking out as Naruto's missing in action, and now Sasuke comes back all beat up. So he's kind of looking pretty freaked out at the moment, and hopes that Boruto comes back in one piece. I also do like that Sakura is shown here healing Sasuke. Now, I wanted this to happen in the last chapter, but in a way it kind of makes a little bit of sense here, as it shows him in a hospital bed, so some time has passed since he returned from his battle with Jigen. So I'm fine with this. Now, onto the main focus of this chapter. Team 7 and Kawaki versus Boro. Now, Boro and Kawaki have a little short exchange here, and Boro basically taunts Kawaki, talks about his bad attitude, and he reveals, to them that, oh yeah, Naruto's probably inside this thing, this seal, which he basically just straight up throws right at them. He tells them that Jigen is the only one that can open the seal, which they try to open it, but to no avail. And he pretty much tells them, yeah, you might not want to open that, as if you try to force it or just break it open, can't really guarantee the success or the safety of whatever's inside it, whether it's Naruto or not. Which, actually, unfortunately for Team 7 and Kawaki, this was actually a distraction, as Boro disappears, goes right under them, and uses a lava-style technique that pretty much creates a sea of acid, and it would have burned the team if they wouldn't have gotten out of the way in time. Oh yeah, and Sarada uses a third Tomo Sharingan here. More on that later. Now, Kawaki, in his desperation to save Naruto, uses karma to absorb the acid that was basically covering the ground they were on. It basically was covering the seal a little bit, and he absorbs all the acid, and the seal ends up not being damaged at all by it. This unfortunately seems like another trap, as Boro basically comes behind Kawaki, throws some more acid at him, which Boruto jumps in and uses his karma to absorb the acid, which pretty much gives Boro a display of his karma, which, of course, with the two karma users, it piques his interest. And Boro taunts Boruto and basically provokes him to launch an attack. And Sarada tries to stop him so that he can rationalize and try to come up with a strategy, but he recklessly goes in for an attack and lands a Rasengan, which is basically a direct hit in Boruto's stomach, and there's a clear hole there. But when Boro gets up, he starts to regenerate his damaged flesh, and yeah, he has regenerative abilities. What are these Kara members? All of them have some pretty crazy and OP abilities. So yeah, that's interesting. So Kawaki and Boruto basically come up with a plan to basically blast him at such a fast rate that he can't regenerate. So as they begin their attack, Sarada notices that Boro is weaving hand signs again. Now Kawaki shows his brute strength here and shows that, yeah, he's a pretty strong fighter. He's already shown it in the past, but he's got to be like Jonin level at this point, because he basically extends his arm out, whatever that thing that extends from his arm, and grabs Boro and slams him on the ground twice. First he slams him against like a ground, like a mini step or whatever, or a mini cliff or whatever, and then he picks him up and just slams him right on the ground. And that's when Boruto tries to land another Rasengan, but then falls over and fails to do anything. Kawaki, he's confused as to what happened, and then he realizes that he can't move either. And it is revealed that Boro used a dark mist jutsu to stop the two, which is what he was using when Sarada noticed that Boro was weaving hand signs. Now, Boro then talks to Boruto, and basically he straight up calls him Momoshiki's vessel, which confuses Boruto as he's like, what? Momoshiki's vessel? And he mentions to them that thanks to Boruto having the karma, the time limit that they had on their plans has pretty much been lifted, and that he's going to be taking Boruto along with Kawaki back to Kara. And yeah, this basically, the chapter basically, or the text basically emphasizes that our time was going to be, they had a time limit. So most likely refers to Jigen's plan from the previous chapter, which was to basically get Kawaki to become the next vessel to drain the planet of its chakra. And they're going to be able to do this faster now that Boruto also has the karma, and that he's also going to become a perfect Otsutsuki, and that they will drain the planet of its chakra and create another god tree. Now Mitsuki, who hasn't really been doing much so far, he steps in to save the two with a wind style technique. However, it doesn't work, as the dark mist just comes right back, and now Mitsuki is caught up in the dark mist, and he's going to slowly begin losing strength. That's when, as he still has strength, Mitsuki and Boro clash, with Mitsuki using lightning style snake lightning, which I believe this is the first time he's used it in the manga. Someone correct me in the comment section down below if he's used it before in the manga, but I believe this is the first time he's used it. Boro retaliates with a water style wall water jutsu. Okay, why do a water style? But despite the fact that this is a bit of a disadvantage, the attacks actually cancel each other out, but this was just merely a diversion for Mitsuki's snakes to grab Boro. But Boro basically calls this inefficient, basically grabs the snakes and just slams Mitsuki on the ground, lifts him up, slams him on the ground. However, one of the snakes manages to bite Boro, and it poisons him. However, because of his regenerative abilities, it seems to be able to nullify poison, that's crazy. These Kara members have some pretty crazy techniques, that's for sure. And he goes to basically kill Mitsuki, as the only ones he's really interested in are Kawaki and Boruto, and since Mitsuki's interfering, he's going to take him out. That's when Sarada jumps in at the right time, throws a giant rock at Boro, manages to grab Kawaki, while Mitsuki using pretty much the last of his strength at this point, to get Boruto out of the way. Kawaki himself is actually pretty upset with this, as he feels that she is abandoning Naruto, but she reprimands him, calls him an idiot, basically says that, yeah, if things continued the way they were, we'd all be wiped out. So instead of acting recklessly, we need to come up with a strategy as a team. So basically the new Team 7 with Kawaki are going to basically counterattack Boro in the next chapter. And this is where the chapter ends. So I thought this chapter was fine. I know there's a lot of people that aren't really big fans of this chapter. There's actually a lot of people that don't like it. And it is a clear step down from the last couple of chapters. But I still think this was still pretty good, as we were able to finally see what some of the other Kara members are capable of. Because we've been wondering about Boro and Code. Now Code, we still don't know what he's truly capable of. He's the only one that's a mystery at this point now. But Boro, I like that we were able to see what he's capable of. And yeah, the guy is pretty dang powerful. He's got some pretty OP techniques. And I think the fight's fine so far. The pacing may be a bit weird, but I think so far it's fine. I guess we'll see what happens in the next chapter. I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be online, but I think it was fine. I also like that Sarada is showing her intelligence in this chapter, and she's analyzing the situation like her father would, and not acting recklessly like Kawaki and Boruto were. She's actually the smart one here. I do like that she's doing this, and it shows that her and Mitsuki were, it showed them in a positive light. Plus, we haven't really gotten too much of Mitsuki and Sarada in action in a long time. So this was actually pretty nice in my opinion. However, I do have a few issues with this chapter, and it's what pretty much brings it down from the last few chapters. For starters, I want to start with Kawaki for a minute, as I feel he's a bit inconsistent in this chapter. I like that he's still showing his desperation in saving Naruto, and I find that to be fine. That's okay. I like that. That kind of, shows his character a little bit more and how he's desperately trying to save the one person that showed him kindness and gave him basically a second chance at life. And I like that. But what I don't like is how reckless he is in this chapter. And I get that Kawaki has been a loose cannon in the past, and he can, explode on people. But at the same time, he's shown that he actually is really smart and he can analyze the situation. Like in the Naruto versus Delta fight, he was analyzing that situation. He could tell that Naruto was basically in control of that battle, and kept telling Boruto, do not interfere with this battle. Your father has it. Don't do it. We need to stay out of it, just like he said. Yeah, and I just don't get it. You'd think that, Kawaki would be a little bit smarter here. Not only that, but in the previous chapter, Kawaki says that Boro, in some ways, is worse than Jigen. So don't you think he would proceed with more caution if that's the case? Also, I'm a little confused too, and I think this is a bit of a plot hole, but he seemed to be aware of Delta's abilities when Naruto and Delta were fighting, and probably knows what Jigen's capable of. So why isn't he aware of Boro's techniques? Has he just not seen him fight? That's what I'm a little bit confused about. I know they haven't really elaborated with Kawaki's past with characters like Boro and Code, so maybe he isn't aware of their techniques, but I'm not sure. I don't know, that kind of bothers me just a little bit. And lastly, a problem that I do have is with Sarada, with her 3-tomo Sharingan appearing for the first time in the manga. And honestly, it really wasn't handled well. I'm kind of in agreement with a couple of people online that, yeah, this was kind of shoehorned in there. Now, for a lot of people that have been following the series and probably following the novel series, know that this was introduced in the Sasuke Shinden novel last year. So a lot of us have been aware of it, but there are people that are probably not aware of this at all. Probably people that are, anime only watchers or just casual fans of the series. They're probably not aware that Sarada has the 3-tomo Sharingan. And yeah, the anime hasn't even adapted the Sasuke Shinden novel, which I anticipate they're probably going to do that within the next 5 or 6 months. Within that time period. I'm pretty sure that's coming up very soon after the boyhood arc ends in the anime. But if this is the case, I honestly feel like this should have been introduced a lot sooner in the manga. Like maybe back in the AO arc, maybe tease that she has 2 tomo back then or something. It just feels like it was thrown in there to basically tell people that, oh hey, yeah, she has it. Because it kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere if you aren't fully keeping up with the series. So yeah, that could have been handled a little bit better. I agree with some people on that. That's probably one of my biggest gripes with the chapter. But overall, I thought it was still overall pretty good. Just not as good as the last few chapters. So right now, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. And if the next chapter or the rest of this battle ends up being good, this might actually change my score. I might actually lift it up. But for right now, I'm giving it a decent 7 out of 10. So yeah, guys out there, what'd you think of this chapter? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What'd you think of the battle so far? Just please let me know in the comment section down below. And be sure to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you all later. See you all next month for next month's manga review. Or you could watch my anime reviews for the Boruto series, which I do pretty much on Sundays whenever it releases. Now, I'm only going to probably be covering mostly canon material and novel adaptations, or arcs like the Boyhood arc with anime original characters like Urashiki. So I won't cover every single episode, but I try to do what I can with what's out there. So anyways, I'm kind of rambling on here. So anyways, Like and subscribe if you like the video. So I will talk to you all later.